When I set out to designing these bezels, my first instance was to add dried flowers into resin because that is always fun to do. But the moon evokes the idea of fantasy more than floral for me. Crescent-shaped bezels are beautiful and stand out due to their unique form. I wanted my designs to fully utilize their symbolic potential. So, what are the best design approaches to truly complement this shape? Should my designs be influenced by the bezel color? Is there any significance to wearing it facing left versus right? I dove into design research, literally looked at over 1,000 different designs, studied my favorite resin artists, and finally came up with 5 designs for each finish of bezel and a 6th pendant made without any mold or bezel. My designs will use both epoxy and UV resin, a variety of colors and materials, creativity, and a little bit of magic to bring these 6 crescents to life. Lots to do, let's begin. Let's make the designs first. I trace the bezels so that I can make my designs at 1:1 scale. After making a note of the bezel finishes, I decide on the themes suited to each finish. I put down the skeletal design structure before finalizing the color palette. My no moon bezel needs an outline so that my pendant has a comparable shape. An acrylic hoop and these aurora flakes for the body. The dragonhide texture uses black UV resin, chameleon pigments, and soap bubbles, which can be made easily by mixing some dishwashing soap with a little water and shaking it up. To create magic for our silver bezel, I will use mica pigment powders, some celestial embellishments, silver colored caviar matching the bezel finish for stars, and these open star decorations. To make the copper bezel, which is inspired by the moonflower climber which I love to grow, I will use these floral stickers. I choose these smaller side profiles for the project. The color is muted and will stand second to the coppery tones of the bezel. Tendrils for the moonflower vine. I have fashioned these from this copper colored wire to match the finish of the bezel. And finally, some crafting glitter in matching finish. The black bezel will use pink UV powder and alcohol inks to make the sky for this tiny gun black bat. This golden moon will use this crushed glass filler. Finally, I will create a sturdy base for these bezels. I will back these bezels with heat-resistant tape before mounting them on the cardboard. The tape keeps the resin from overflowing, and the cardboard makes it easy to move the bezel around with gloved hands before the resin has cured. Extra care needs to be taken for this bezel because the hoops are in a perpendicular plane to the bezel. It will dig into the base and create a gap. Resin will leak and cause unnecessary heartache. The remedy is to stop the tape just below the springing point of the hoop. Same applies to the cardboard base. All my bezels are now prepped and ready. I will prepare my no bezel pendant base in the same way. Material prep is done. Let's get crafting. First step for our bronze pendant is creating a base using this black UV resin with special attention to the edges. Now comes the fun part. I layered the surface with bubbles and then put it under UV light. The bubbles distort the surface while it cures and creates this fascinating texture. Heat gun to remove any remaining moisture. Looks like the lunar surface. To bring out the dragon hide texture, I will now use some chameleon pigment. I have chosen colors which will complement the bronze finish of the bezel. Finally, let's seal this surface with a coat of UV resin dome, which will magnify the dragon skin texture. I found that some of the resin was uncured on the other side. This is not a problem because I want to recreate the texture on this side as well and make it a reversible pendant. I'm using two colors here to bring a little depth to this tiny artwork. I must say, bronze and this combination of black and the chameleon colors is looking fantastic. It is also important to get rid of any loose pigment powders before doming, or they might make the final coat cloudy. Look at that texture. It is looking fabulous. The design for our golden bezel is simple and super easy to make. The idea is that the shape itself is so symbolic that any filler will do. So, I have decided to use the power of complementary colors. Yellow and blue are sitting directly opposite each other on the color wheel. The contrast of this blue crushed glass glitter against the golden finish of the open bezel is what makes this design pop. The gun black pendant has a darker theme. I am designing a keychain pendant for Batman's Batmobile. A little bit of UV powder here for the pink layer. Not sure how effective this will be, but if I do not try, I will never know. I am layering colors from light to dark, moving from pink to blue to violet to black. Sorry about the lack of light. The clouds have been misbehaving today. I'm adding this UV powder because once under UV, I'm hoping that the silhouette will really show. Let's add this bat to complete this twilight effect. Finally, some steel colored crafting caviar to complete the effect of stars in the sky. And my twilight crescent is now ready for finishing touches. The theme of our copper tone bezel is the moonflower climber. Let's put in the first tendril. I am working with these stickers because they're subtle and they're not going to overpower the coppery wire art. I will be working with each tendril and its accompanying flower in layers. Let's seal our first layer. Heat gun to dissipate any trapped bubbles. The tendril wire art and the flower for the second layer are of a different size in response to the curve of the bezel so that it balances the overall composition. Now, a little glitter in matching colors to bring it all together. The pendant is now ready for doming. There is a little bit of magic in our silver bezel design theme. First, let's create a bubbly background with chrome finish pigment, which I will apply directly onto the heat resistant tape. After tapping away any loose powder, let's make a UV clear base for our first layer, paying particular attention to the edges so that there is no trapped bubble. Now, let's populate this tiny canvas with celestial objects. This is another layer of stars and stardust. Let's work on the other side. Even though I worked the edges when I laid the base, I still missed a spot. No worries, I will add some of the base color, and if it is still visible, I will pretend that it is a spaceship. The color gradient of the base is beautiful and slightly translucent. So, I will try and mirror the design of the other side so that I can counter the shadows of the embellishments through the background. Now for our no mold, no bezel crescent moon pendant. Materials are already prepped and we are ready to roll. The technique is simple. I mix the flakes with the UV resin and then spread it out within the pendant outline. I will bake the other side also before removing the tape. The edge condition requires a little bit of repair. Now we need to add the hoop. The base of the hoop needs a little adjustment. Let's glue it to the crescent with some UV resin. The edges need a little attention before moving on to the next stage. While working with UV resin, one has to work with multiple thin layers, unlike epoxy resin, because UV resin shrinks upon curing, and if the layer is too thick, a project of this scale might get bent out of shape. Now let's add a little more bulk with the same flakes as the body before the final doming. I am applying a little resin onto the surface so that it catches the flakes easily. Light surface scrub to remove any loose flakes, and now she is ready for the final finish. Though the pendant is already sealed, we will add another coat to raise the dome so that the dragon hide texture is magnified. In UV resin, especially when using opaque objects, we have to take care to cure it properly on both the sides. In this case, the final sealing layer of UV resin takes care of this problem. I am not covering the bat profile with resin because I want the surface to remain a little tactile and interesting. Sorry about the lighting. The clouds came in and I forgot to adjust the contrast. However, it does seem to be in sync with the dark design theme of the pendant. I have uncured resin here on the other side. Though this one has not been designed to be a reversible pendant, I will embed some caviar beads and make the sky starry. Just a little bit, before sealing it with a dome of UV resin. The moonflower theme is not reversible, but I don't want it to have an opaque background. So, I will sprinkle some of this glitter in this matching coppery and white colors to differentiate the back from the front, before sealing it with a layer of UV resin. Finally, a clear dome of UV resin for the front to magnify this delicate design. Now, let's add our finishing touches to the magical themed pendant. A little pixie dust and some glitter to help the colors blend into the acute angle corners of this silvery bezel. This being a reversible pendant, both the sides get similar treatment. Our no bezel crescent moon will be dip domed since it is free of the bezel borders. I'm going to hang the pendant while dipping it because my gloved fingers have reduced grip and I have dropped things into resin before. And it is messy to get them out again. I have to wait for the resin to flow off. Since this is cured under UV, if I move too fast, there is the chance of surface ripples. Patience is the key here. One round is done. The sharp edges have been softened. I will dip dome it one more time. Look at that. This pendant has totally captured the iridescent quality of this crescent form. This is a beautiful combination, simple yet vibrant. The sky gradient could have been better. I love that the bat silhouette is coming through. These flakes were the perfect choice. I need more practice in freeform UV design though. The dragonhide texture is awesome in its intensity. Love it. I feel this delicate beauty would look even better if the tendrils were anchored to the walls. The magical quality has come through beautifully. Colors, stars, everything works. This was my take on designing crescent bezels. The shape has such deep symbolism that simply filling it with a single color or even leaving it empty, it would still have a story to tell depending on the personality of the wearer to the observer. This shape is so wonderful, I could easily make another complete series of different designs best suited to this shape. I hope this was a fun watch. Happy crafting and have a wonderful day. Even with detailed plans, I hit a few process speed bumps. In my first drag and texture attempt, the bubbles kept disappearing and I was not fast enough. It took me a couple of rounds and I did get it finally though. The tendril stems took a lot of coaxing before I was able to shape them smoothly without sharp pins. The clouds parted at the most inappropriate moment and my UV resin got cured before I could use it. There was nothing magical about this first attempt. I cured it without taking care of the edges first. The resin overflowed and captured air under it. I had to take the entire base off and start again.